from PerfectionismPrints here, and today we are going to learn how to print on letter size paper and then use crop marks. And then we're also going to see a demonstration of printing straight to pre-cut, pre-punched handy forms paper like I talked about in my last video, which I will link below. All right, so first we will print this month-on-one page calendar in personal size onto letter size paper. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to load letter size paper into your printer. We load that, and then this printer will do duplex printing. And by the way, this printer is, let's see, an HP Officejet 4630 all-in-one. It's nothing fancy. I've had this printer for a few years actually. And it's been a pretty good, reliable little printer for me. So I will print the even pages first and then the odd pages. All right, so we're gonna print the month-on-one page, Sunday start for personal. When you buy the file, when you buy the insert, these are the 5 files you get. This is the months only booklet, and it has the months back to back. It has the crop marks already in the file. And so once you have that, open in Adobe Acrobat. You're gonna go to File, Print, and you wanna check your printer, make sure you're printing to the right printer. I usually print in black and white, so I save my color ink, but you can print in whatever you'd like. For some reason, I have extra trim marks on here, so I just turned those off because it already has the crop marks. And then I'm only going to print the even pages. And print. All right, so now I am done with the odd pages. You have to know how your printer feeds. For me, I have to flip them around and then put them in face up back into the paper tray. And now we're gonna go ahead and print the odd pages. And I didn't mention this before, but you always want to make sure that you are checking your paper size, because especially if you're printing to different sizes, sometimes you will be unpleasantly surprised if you don't double check that before you print. Now, if this happens to you, where it's upside down like this, all right, so I had done this wrong the first time, which I'm glad that happened because that's real life. And I had loaded it in my printer the wrong way. I had flipped it around, and it's not supposed to be flipped around. And I'm gonna have to make sure, unless you print in reverse page order, you gotta make sure that your first page is on top. Now this time, it worked out. So that's great. So one more thing to mention, when you're printing, especially in a booklet form, you may end up with blank pages, and that's intentional. That's so that the booklet will cut correctly when you're doing duplex printing. Just for this demonstration, I'm using like 20-pound printer paper, so you can see that the headers will show through. I would definitely recommend printing on a 28 or 32-pound paper, and then you won't get that show through like you do on this just regular cheap copy paper. Okay, so when you're done, you'll have something like this. This is in booklet format, and you'll have both sides printed with the crop marks lined up on both sides and everything pointing in the same direction. All right, so first of all, Depending on what kind of paper you're cutting, you need to know how much your paper cutter can handle. This one is Fiskars. It folds for storage. It has a light here, so when you have your paper down, you can see better to cut it. So because this is the cheap copy paper, and I only printed 1, 2, 3, 4 sheets, this won't have any trouble getting through 4. I think it's supposed to be able to do 10, but honestly, when I do my thicker 32-pound paper, this one can only do 3 sheets. So what you want to do is you want to cut either both of the horizontal cuts first or both of the vertical cuts first. And I did this incorrectly for so long until I watched a YouTube video about it, and I wish I could remember which video it was because it was life-changing for me as far as teaching me how to not cut off the crop marks, but I honestly cannot remember which video it was, so I apologize, guys. If one of you guys know that video, which there's probably more than one, I don't know, feel free to link it down below. I'm just going to do a voiceover here so I can speed this up. So you want to cut all of your horizontal lines first, or you could do all of your vertical lines first. You want to know your paper trimmer to know exactly where to cut, and you want to make sure your paper is lined up. And you want to cut across the crop lines, but not all the way across the paper, which I'm about to do here in a minute, even though I'm telling you not to. And that's the whole point of this video. And then you push down on your blade, and this trimmer is really messed up. Like, it's not even cutting correctly. It's vibrating as it's cutting. That's not good. But I go across it a few times, and I cut off the crop marks. So ideally you wouldn't do that. I totally just did the thing that I was going to tell you guys not to do, but this is real life. Okay, so let me show you though. Normally you would not want to cut all the way to the edge here, because then you're going to cut off your crop marks. Anyway, so let's see if I can get it right on the other side, and I'll show you what to do when you do if you do accidentally cut off the crop marks like me. All right, let's try this again. We're going to try this again, and you do not want to cut to the edge of the paper. You want to only cut the length of the insert. Okay, so you see how I didn't cut all the way to the edge that time, which is what you need to do to ensure your crop marks stay on. Now I'm going to do the same thing in the middle here. Don't cut all the way to the edge. And make sure you've cut down the entire length of the insert. All right, and now we're going to cut the other direction. We're just going to reattach these as best we can. I mean, I'm making the mistakes so you don't have to. Very delicate operation. I should have gone into surgery. You just want both crop marks to be even when you cut, or you're going to get a crooked cut. Now, I am going to go ahead and cut all the way to the edge here because we don't need the other crop marks for anything. There we go. And then we're going to do it on the other side. It's a lot easier when you don't cut them off the first time. Now, you should have perfectly cut inserts. There you go. Now I will show you my hole puncher. You have to know how much your puncher can accommodate. I think since this paper is so thin, we'll be okay. This is the Rapesco puncher, and technically this can punch A5, A6, pocket, mini, what else can it do? There's a whole lot of ones on here. I don't even know what some of these are. Timer 14, I don't know if that's like a day timer or something. Anyway, and you pull the A5 out. So, I mean, this one is pre-punched, but you'll get the idea. And you actually have to flip it around. So like you pull it out here and there's a little mark on here that says A5. And then you have to slide it all the way to the end down here and press it in. And then you would punch. And then, because it's only going to do 3 holes, you have to flip it around and punch it again. So that's kind of annoying. I have another punch that I use for A5, but I'm not using A5 right now. So I don't have it in this room. And if I can find that on Amazon, the punch that I use for A5, I will do that. I know Filofax has a nice one too. But anyway, the personal size is a lot easier because you don't have to flip it. If you can see here, there is a little mark here for personal. So you just slide it in to that mark. And then make sure you're punching the right side. And it's easy to tell which side is the right side because the logo is right there. And then you just line it up and you put it all the way to the end where that gray guide is. And then you punch. And you're good to go. And this had no problem cutting through these, so it cut through 8 pages, no problem, of 20-pound copy paper. So there you go, guys. Now the other thing you can do is print straight to your size of choice. All PerfectionismPrints files, even as small as pocket size, come with PDFs that do not have crop marks so that you can print straight to the target paper size if you so desire. All right, so now I'm going to show you how to print straight to the pre-cut, pre-punched Handy Forms paper that I did my other video on, and I'll link that down below. And so this is A6 size paper. So for me, you have to be really mindful of like what side you're putting the holes on. I'm going to print the even pages first. And for me, I just slide it in there like that. All right, so now we're going to print the A6 2021 dated calendar. So I'm unzipping the file and opening it up. We're going to go to the non-crop mark version because we're obviously printing straight to that size. And so I'm choosing no crop marks and zooming out a little bit. And then we will go to print. We want to check the paper size, and you can create custom paper sizes by going down here to manage custom sizes. Then you hit the little plus sign and you can double click this to rename it. I already have a size A6 here, so I'm just naming this one A6 demo just for the purposes of this video and showing you how to create a new size. Then you put the dimensions of the page in. For A6, it's 4.13 by 5.83. And then I usually adjust the bottom margin, or I make all the margins 0.25. But you do have to keep in mind if you're doing duplex printing where your printer will automatically print on both sides, a lot of times you do need to keep the bottom margin larger because the printer needs a little bit more room on the bottom to be able to print on both sides. So just keep that in mind. But I like to print, even though my printer can do duplex printing, I like to flip the pages manually so I don't have to worry about that. All right, so you choose your page size, push OK, and you want to make sure you're printing at 100% scale. You want to check to make sure that the paper size is the same as the insert size. I mean, this is, one has more decimal precision than the other, but they're both 4.1 by 5.8. I'm saying here, don't print using the multiple setting, because even if you have already chosen to print at 100% scale, once you hit that multiple button there, it actually will shrink. It will resize the pages. So don't use the multiple setting if you want to print at 100%. All right, so now we're going to set the page range. I'm just going to print the first 4 pages for this demonstration, which is 2 pages front and back, and we'll choose even pages only, and then we'll go ahead and hit print. All right, so when you're printing on the pre-punched Handy Forms paper, you do need to pay attention to which side the holes go on the page. So you just want to make sure that you are thinking about that before you hit print. So like for this example, the even pages are the left side of the page and the odd pages are the right side. I find it's helpful when you're loading the paper tray to load a stack of paper in there. And I don't know if this is just my printer, but you know, like putting a stack in as opposed to just 1 or 2 sheets. For some reason, when I just put 1 or 2 sheets in this printer of this pre-cut paper, it ends up jamming it a lot, and then you get issues like that, and nobody wants that. So that's just something to be aware of. If you are getting a lot of paper jams, you may want to just try that, loading more paper at once. And like I said, it could just be my printer, but it definitely feeds better when I do that. All right, so as you can see, we now have the even pages printed. Again, I was only doing the first 2 just for demonstration purposes. And then you have to know how your printer feeds. Now you can reverse print, but I usually just put the first page on the top. And then your holes when you're printing the odd pages are going to be on the other side when you're loading. Try to straighten it out as much as possible, which seems to help with the feed process. And now I'm going to print my odd pages. As you can see, this is the title page. And it printed perfectly front and back. And same thing with this one. No cutting needed. Whether you want to do cut and punching yourself or pre-cut, pre-punched, you can do either one. The cutting and punching does take longer. Now let's go through pros and cons. So cutting and punching yourself takes longer, but it's definitely less expensive because, I mean, you can buy a ream of even 32-pound really nice paper, 8.5 by 11 for like $20 on Amazon. And I mean, that's 500 sheets of the letter size paper. And like if you're printing with the crop marks like this, you will get 4 inserts to each of the 8.5 by 11 inch sheet, because you'll have 2 on one side and 2 on the other. And so that's nice. Now, and it's a lot cheaper. Now this Handy Forms paper, I think depending on the size that you get, it's between like $6 and $8 for 50 sheets. And when you're printing on this, you're only getting 2 inserts, counting front and back. So it's definitely more expensive. But for me, I find that if I have to rely on the cutting and punching, I tend to procrastinate and not do it. So I'm much more functional if it's easier for me to do. Now, if I did do, like if my printer didn't print to this paper, I would definitely do this as opposed to not using ring bound, because I just like ring bound so much. But I would probably just take a designated amount of time each month and just cut and punch a ton of them at a time, because once you're kind of in the mode of doing it and you have all the equipment out and everything, it's a lot easier than like punching an insert or printing and cutting and punching an insert here and there. But that is another thing that I like about this is, like, if I just have 1 or 2 inserts to print, it's so easy to just put the paper in the printer. You don't have to waste all this time getting everything out and sorted and all of that when you just want to print 1 or 2 inserts. So anyway, guys, I hope that this video was helpful, and I'll try to link the products that I've talked about below. I don't know about my printer. I'll see if they still make it and link it below. But I mean, I wouldn't even say I necessarily would recommend this printer. I mean, there's nothing special about it. I'm sure there are better printers. So if you guys know of better printers, please leave them in the comments below. I'm actually thinking about getting a new one, so I will be reading those if you have any recommendations. And I'm sure other people will appreciate that too. One more plug here. If you haven't yet, check out the collab that I did with Berlin from Plan with B. We did an editable weekly insert, and we did it in 13 planner sizes, which is the most that I've ever done. And it turned out so well. Berlin's vision for this insert was just so impressive to me. I've always been really impressed with the way that she can plan so efficiently in a pocket-sized planner. She just fits so much information into it. It's really amazing to me. And that's exactly what this insert is that we made. It's so much information in a relatively small footprint. I mean, it comes in bigger sizes too, but even if you get a pocket or an A6, I mean, you can fit a lot on there. Or you guys can watch Berlin's video. I'm not going to do a better job than her explaining it, so I'll just link her video below about that insert. But please go and show her some love, subscribe to her channel, or follow her on Instagram, check out the inserts, and like and subscribe to my channel if you want to come back and see me mess stuff up again or not. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye. You need to know how your individual printer works, but for me, I now have to make sure that the first page is to the Precut Handy Forms paper, which I have some A6 paper here. First of all, you want to make sure that your printer is capable of handling it. Now, all right, so I'm printing my even pages first. Oh crap, I'm printing on personal wide paper. All right, so now, again, you need to know how when you punch A5 with it, you have to pull this, not all the way out. I think I should just title this video, Watch Amanda Do Everything Wrong.